Have you ever wondered what happens when you lose your job on H1B visa? Or do you get 60 days grace period if you lose your job twice on different H1B visas? Or whether you can switch visas if you lose your job to stay in the US? Let's answer all of those questions. Here are all of the options you have in case you get terminated from your job or you just leave your job at the first place. First point, find another employer and get a H1B transferred. This might be the easiest of all. According to USCIS, you have 60 days to find another job. Ideally, if you find a job within 30 to 45 days and still have 2 weeks for H1B visa transfer process to go through. Let's say you end up getting a job and for some reason you have to either leave the job or get laid off. 60 days grace period resets. Did you know this 60-day grace period wasn't there before 2016? So in case people lost their jobs, they would have to just go back immediately. Now that is scary. Your 60 days start the day after your termination of employment. This is determined by the last day of your salary. In some of the recent layoffs, the news came out that the companies would be keeping employees on payroll for 1 to 2 months so that the employees, especially non-immigrants, people on non-immigrant visas, get fewer months to find a job. In case you get terminated, and if it's possible, it would not hurt to ask 1 month to be on the payroll of your company instead of a severance. This way, you could get that extra month to find jobs. This 60 days also applies if you're voluntarily leaving your job. Second question is, what happens if you're outside the US when you get terminated? In that case, you don't really get those 60 days and you can't enter the US as your visa is associated to the employer in case of H1B. You won't be allowed to come back into the country. But if you do have a 2-week or a week of grace period or notice period, you can enter back in the US with that visa during that notice period and you will be allowed. It's completely fine. Third, what happens if you find a new job? You're exploring, you got a new job. The legal team at your new company will start your H1B transfer process. This happened to me back in 2021 when I was switching companies. They will file a new H1B petition for you to amend or extend your H1B status with USCIS. As soon as it's filed, you can start working. You don't need to wait for the petition to be approved. In case there is RFE stands for request for evidence, the company's legal team will take care of it. In case there's not one and it gets rejected, then you're back to square one, you're back to looking for companies. Number 4, in a situation where you are on day 45 of your 60 days grace period and you haven't found a job yet, changing the status is the easiest way. USCIS started recommending to everybody on H1B to change their status if they don't get H1B jobs within those 60 days. Recently, a close friend of mine wasn't able to get a job which he wanted. He paid his previous employer's lawyer $500 and got switched to a B2 visa, which is a tourist visa. His change of status happened pretty quick and he wasn't out of status at all. Once he did find the company to work at, the legal team filed his H1B visa, and since he had a H1B before, it was pretty easy process. Within 2 weeks, he received the offer letter. Within 2 weeks of him receiving the offer letter, he was able to start working because they were able to put in the petition for his H1B. Remember, his H1B wasn't even approved at that point, but as I mentioned before, he only needed the documentation to be received by USCIS and not approved by USCIS. Plus, USCIS writes it on their own website that it's completely legal to look and interview for jobs on your B2 visa. Your number 5th option is self-filing your O1 visa, EB1 visa or EB5 visa. O1 visa and EB1 visa or even EB1B visa is for highly talented individuals, and also it takes a year or plus to build up your profile to be able to apply for these visas. If you were already preparing your case for it, this might be a time to find a good lawyer and file for it. EB5 is an investment visa. If you have 800,000, you can invest in the US businesses. They'll just give you a green card for it. They'll give you a green card, they'll give your spouse a green card, and your kids a green card. The 6th option you have is going to a H4 visa. If you have a partner who's on H1B, going on a dependent visa could be an option. If they have their I-140 approved, which means their green card is filed, your case also get that H4 EAD card, which allows you to run a business in the US. The only caveat is, of course, your visa is dependent on your partner. So in case he gets laid off, he has to find either other job, or you'll have to move back to India with him, and your H4 will be voided. And the number seventh option is leave the country, move back to a different country, or back home. Maybe this was your sign, you just wanted to move back all this time, move back home, and never worry about visas and stuff. Then this is your chance. Comment below if there's any options I missed. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And until then, I'll see you in the next one. Take care, everyone.